Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Day One Podcast. I'm Adam Daly.
And I'm Brett Nord.
We're back for another week of exciting news and, well, I guess average news. I don't want to get everybody's hopes up, but...
Right, other weeks might be
right.
better than this.
Exactly. Like, I don't want to set some bar.
New bar.
And
every time we have a meet. Yeah.
Wait a minute. That was just average news.
Yes.
Average news and a great interview today with one of our users.
Yes.
And we'll talk about Kendra a little bit later more.
She's amazing. It's a real treat.
Yeah.
As opposed to Trigger Treat, which is just a couple days ago. We're November.
I'm kind of glad that Halloween is over. I'm not going to lie. No, I have 2 kids, and it's fun to have them dress up and go around the neighborhood. But also, like, I was manning the house this time, waiting for trick-or-treaters. So if you're not familiar, if you're outside of the U.S. and you're listening to this podcast, it's a big thing in the USA to celebrate Halloween.
A lot of countries now.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's true. Yes. Kids dress up and go around asking people for candy. Mm-hmm. And the funny thing is, like, I don't let my kids have all that candy. One, that's just irresponsible, being irresponsible.
Ouch, I'm feeling guilty. We say go for it.
Oh, yeah.
Get as much as you can.
No, they get as much as they can, but then, like, it comes back to a central reserve.
Sure.
And then I divvy it out.
Inspect it. Yeah.
But seriously, by end of November, I'm chucking most of it. Of
course.
So it's, like this neighborhood exchange of candy that most people don't even finish.
Don't tell my neighbor kids, friends, but we use whatever's left from the last Halloween.
There you go. See?
Hey, they don't know.
That's smart. No.
Just we have some candy I don't think they've used for 4 or 5 years. It just keeps
recycling.
Yeah,
just
right.
recycling.
Sure.
Oh, man. I'm actually in a really good mood.
Me too.
Because my football club won last night.
Football, yeah. Here we go again.
Well, and I don't mean the Niners beating the Raiders because I don't care about that. I mean, good for them, but my football club is meaning Major League Soccer.
Yeah, I'm happy for you.
Are still in the playoffs. They advanced from the knockout round, so that's good news for me.
See, I'd still rather talk about Halloween. For Halloween, you mentioned Trick or Treat. For me, it's about watching scary movies. That's my Halloween thing. And my wife, was telling her the other day, I was totally stressed out because it was almost the 31st, and I had not seen all the movies I had planned to see. No. And she reminded me, I can see those anytime. I don't have to see them before Halloween. So the anxiety went away. Now I can still watch. But there's some great stuff this year. I'm excited and fun.
Oh, man. Anyway, so I just wanted to touch base. We're still working on version 3.2.2 for iOS. It's a pretty big release, and we talked about some of those features that are coming. So with bigger releases, with more things in them, it takes a little bit longer to test. And so we've had a few beta iterations go out to our beta testers and internally to make sure that things are working. So still going through that process. We talked about drag and drop coming back for photos, some improvements with lists and stuff like that. So those are still coming. We're just working through the beta testing on that.
Sure.
And also 2.9.2 for Mac is being worked on as well. Some updates there. We're still planning on a 3.0 release for Mac, and from what I understand, there will be some design changes in that release, which audio recording will be coming to Mac as well in 3.0. That's the plan anyway. That's the plan as I know it right now.
Right.
And I say that like because it could change. Yeah, no, it absolutely could. Just depending on what's going on and when we want to get it out and everything. So I've noticed that in software development that those things are fluid. And we want to get them as far as we say we will on our roadmap, but sometimes those things change, things come up. So
when new hardware comes out, for example, right? That takes
exciting news. Did we even mention that 2 weeks ago?
No,
because we didn't know.
No.
Did we know about the event? I can't even remember.
Did. We knew about the event. Of course, you could speculate.
We were
about
speculating.
But we didn't say much.
So new iPads came out, and the team has already started working on making sure that our app is formatted to those new specs, which is great. And that's something I'm proud of our team about. I love that Day One focuses on the new releases because new things are coming out. People are going to get on those new hardware, new software.
Yes.
And so Day One has always been on top of that. When iOS 12 was out, we were out that same day.
Sure.
We had our update ready.
And we all go in debt to get the new hardware.
I didn't yet. My finger's on the trigger, on the on the click button.
The Apple Pay icon.
It's a good one. They've got some cool stuff. I like the new design of the new iPads. They look great. What else? New MacBook Air.
Faster processor, right? A little bit quicker on that.
I was a little disappointed there was no AirPods announcement. because I want new AirPods. Sure. I love my AirPods.
Yeah. They're great.
But the new pencil looks great.
You're okay with no Touch ID? You like the Face ID only?
Face ID is...
I still love the Touch.
Really?
Yeah.
No, I'm a Face ID man.
It's halfway, well, more so for the iPhone, but when I'm asleep and I want to lean over and just kind of touch something, or in theory, if I was driving...
When you're asleep? How much are you getting on your phone while you're asleep, Brett?
Well, just to look at... Yeah, you're right.
Okay.
What am I doing that for? I don't remember. But in theory, if you're driving and you wanted to do something quick, with Face ID, you'd have to look away from the road to have it register, as opposed to just your thumb.
But that's also if you have attention on, which I understand is a good feature, meaning you have to look at the thing so it recognizes your eyes. Because of some sunglasses I have, I don't have that feature. Now, don't come stealing my phone and try and get on it. But
are those the glasses that also have the mustache?
Yep, that's right.
And the nose?
Yeah. Well, I already have a mustache.
Okay, well, the curly kind.
No, but I have these nice sunglasses, and when I wear them, if I have the attention thing on, it won't unlock, and it's kind of frustrating because I have to either take off my sunglasses or whatever. So I've disabled that feature.
Yeah. Is that in accessibility?
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Well, it's in the
settings,
the Face ID settings.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Good. I did not know that.
So if it still recognizes your face, you don't have to look at it, so you can still be safe.
Awesome.
And you can turn that on and off. Like if you're traveling somewhere, maybe you want to turn that back on for security. Sure. Absolutely, I get that, and you can do that pretty quickly.
Okay. So it's cool that's coming to the iPads now.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Plus, it's a bigger screen. I like what they've done with the dimensions.
Yes.
There's no notch, right?
Right.
People were speculating there would be a notch.
No. And
there is no notch.
No headphone jack.
No headphone jack. That's is big. A trend. Brett and I talked about this a little bit before the show today.
Yeah.
Just how, companies make decisions based on kind of future ways things are going. And I think Bluetooth audio accessories are becoming really big. I love not being tethered to my device.
Me too.
I know some people would prefer still a headphone jack, but there's accessibility options. You can, like the dongle. Sure. I know everybody hates the dongle.
Sure.
It's fine.
Yes.
I don't disagree with you or anyone, but it is what it is.
That's right.
Like we talked about when the disk drive got removed.
First world problems.
I was fine with that. I'm like, good, let's go digital. I'm tired of a spinning disk drive and how long that takes and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I miss it.
Of course, I'm the guy who still has a record player at home, and I'm still spinning vinyl. So
love it.
I'm nostalgic, a little bit of hipster.
That's right.
But still good times.
Good stuff.
Oh, I think in between our trip or our last recording, I went to Portland. Did I talk about that? I didn't talk about Portland.
Oh, it's great.
I had some great journal entries from Portland. Saw some beautiful sights. Ate some delicious food.
Of course.
And went to a soccer game up there. So that was kind of the primary reason. But I got to say, like, I know I've been an advocate for like anti-social media.
Right.
Because I'm kind of anti-social. But being able to still record those events and take pictures and have, pins on my map in my journal, it's just so great.
But you didn't share those publicly, did you?
I did
just
not.
talking about for your own. So you're still getting the benefit
it's still,
without having to do this.
It's my own personal social media where I still get to reflect on those things, and I had a great time.
Yes.
And I didn't have to worry about posting it publicly because, I don't know, it just felt nice. Anyway, it was a great trip. Portland's a beautiful area.
It is. Well, welcome back.
Thank you.
If I went to Portland, I don't think I'd come back. I'd just do a one-way ticket.
It was very beautiful, and the climate was my preferred climate. I loved the cooler mornings, humid, foggy. I loved it.
Yeah.
I love the rain. I don't know if you get sick of it. Do you?
After 2 days, I do.
Yeah. You need some sunshine.
Yes. A day here and there is great. I love it for mood, but it can depress me for sure. If it's more than a couple.
Well, enough about that kind of stuff. Let's get back to...
Let's do it.
So anyway, those things are coming. Actually, I know that Android has a release coming out, 1.1.3, over the next few days. I believe it's being released as a phase release. And some bug fixes there and some updates. That one's, I've had users contact me and say, when's Android going to get all these features that iOS has? And that's a great question.
It is.
Certainly is, the development is different on Android. We have a small team working on that platform, and it's relatively new. We've been on iOS since, 2011?
Right.
So we've had a lot more time to develop on those. Our team is a little more experienced there. So we're doing our best with that one.
With what we have.
With what we've got, yeah. So development's a little bit different on Android. So anyway, stay tuned for those things.
Yeah.
Updates. I'm really excited about drag and drop coming back. I had to do that myself recently, where I needed to rearrange some photos in my entry, and it was.
I thought for a minute we had a new app called Drag and Drop.
Drag and Drop,
the new game from day one.
Where that would be fun.
Explain how drag and drop.
No, I'm not even going to speculate.
Oh, drag and drop.
Drag and
Explain
drop.
how you do that day one.
Well, what you do, so it's basically a way to rearrange photos. When we introduced the new editor, we had to do some different things with photos to get them to arrange nicely in the entry.
Right.
And so drag and drop was not set in the new editor at that point. We've now developed that where you kind of long press on a photo in edit mode, and then you can drag it to different positions in the entry. You can put it in a different place, drag it to the top of your entry, rearrange the photos how you want. Awesome. It's way nice.
That's cool.
So coming soon in 3.2.2 for iOS. And that works also like in iPads with the split view. You can drag things into an entry. It does a really good job of that. So audio will be working. I don't know if audio is included in that right now, but it will be. So if you have like an audio file in your Files app, you can drag that into an entry and it will import.
Sure.
So all that's
Great.
coming.
If you're listening to this podcast in a month or two, it'll be there.
Right.
Depending on how timely.
Did I say this? With a bigger release, it takes longer to beta test. So certainly that's what we're working on right now.
Yes.
Anyway.
Good. Let's get to the discussion.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Yes. Kendra Wright is one I've actually talked about a couple times. I loved meeting with her. I talked to her, it's almost been 5 months ago, and partially why it's taken so long, quite honestly. I got so much good information from our discussion. It was over an hour, and time flew by. We just had so much to talk about. And so whittling it down to a reasonable amount, and I have to redefine reasonable because up until now it was like 7 clips. Now it's like 19.
Yeah.
Because there's so much good stuff here. I really think, again, you're in for a treat listening to my interview or discussion with Kendra.
Well, and some people may be familiar with her as well,
Yeah.
because she did The Way I Journal on one of our blog posts. So.
Yes, we'll have a link to that one. It's probably one of the most popular, most viewed How I Journal. Because again, it's unique to everyone, but she had some nuggets in there I thought were so great. And a lot of it's because of her background, her experience. The first clip I'm going to play is actually her talking about her background and her birth, and literally things started at birth with her.
Wow.
It gave her some challenges. So here you go, Kendra.
I was born 3 months premature to a 15-year-old mother in the middle of nowhere where there were more cows than people. And so, very low income area. And with the way I was born, I was given about a 5% chance of living. So the cards are really stacked against me when I was first born. My lungs were like super undeveloped. If you've ever actually seen like the development stages of babies where I was at, I'm actually surprised I was alive when I was born. It's really, really wild. And so shortly after being born, I was also diagnosed with CP, cerebral palsy. And so for those of you who are not familiar with it, CP is a movement disorder often caused during birth. Premature babies is pretty common. Could be brain damage, and it affects your movement. A lot of people that have CP are basically bound to wheelchairs for their entire life, and they aren't able to take care of themselves. And so it's a pretty intense condition. And I was really fortunate that I had great doctors when I was a kid, and I spent really most of my childhood learning how to walk. Mm-hmm. And so every day when other kids went to recess, I got to go to therapy. Wow. And as a kid, it really sucked. It really, really sucked super bad. As an adult, I'm really grateful that the suckage happened early on, because now I live a rather normal life, as one would say. I have had some, trials and tribulations to overcome. But I think the biggest asset that I've had is that I've always just tried to see CP as part of who I am and not all of who I am. And I think that's a big misconception that many people have with an illness or a sickness or a disability. Yes. And I think that set me up earlier on to actually fulfill my full potential. So I had a pretty wild start, and I always say that if I can build an awesome life, that anybody can, because I had like all the cards stacked against me in the beginning. So it's a pretty wild story.
All right, great.
I like it.
Yeah,
and great perspective on that too. Mm-hmm. I could definitely do better in my life having a perspective like that.
Yes. Well, I met Kendra. I might have mentioned this on a podcast in the past, but I met her at a conference in Portland. 3-4 years ago, and was just so inspired by her. I mean, again, from her upbringing, her story, everything she's seen as a challenge in her life, she's turned it around. So when she comes out on stage, she's kind of got this little limp stagger, and she says, "Hey, it's my pimp walk." I mean, everything she said and did was like turned it around to be a positive. And she explains, and I didn't have this clip because she gave me, again, so many clips. I could just play them all, I wish. But she talked about how everything she looks at, she comes out and tries to almost embarrass herself for the first couple of minutes of talking. Like, I'm just going to get it out there and show you that I'm human.
Yeah.
And just so many takeaways. Some of these we're going to talk about and share today are more on the self-help and kind of, general habit forming stuff than day one specific. But she has some great stuff, great tips for day one as well.
Good.
For use.
And that's what we're here to tell you about.
Yes, yeah.
Just how others use day one, and maybe that can be applicable to you. Maybe some insight rings true for you, and you can go, oh, that's that may be something that I could use.
Yes.
So
yes,
that's the whole purpose.
I'm going to have Kendra talk a little bit more about her project, which was the Year of Fear, and how that relates to her.
If you read my story and you know my story, I started out with CP. It was really a tough start, and I spent the first part of my life, and it was really challenging. And then I went on to work more in personal development, and I decided to start this project for myself where every day I would do something new, different, or outside my comfort zone. And I ended up calling it the Year of Fear. And I basically built a life around comfort zone challenges. After the first year, it kind of started to become a thing, and people didn't know about it. I actually did it in private, and then I did another year, and then the second year that I did it more publicly, and it really caught on. And then I went on to teach and write, speak about it, which is what I do now. And the thing is that I think everybody has their own version of CP. Everybody's got that thing that they were gifted with. That they can't quite see as a gift, such as a disability, such as maybe a broken home, coming from the wrong side of the tracks.
Yes.
Coming from the right side of the tracks, and your parents never being home because they're so successful, and everybody's got those things. So I just believe, to me, I didn't realize until a few years ago that people didn't grow up with a really crappy childhood. I thought that was normal because I thought everyone had their version of cerebral palsy.
Sure.
And so what I try to do is make everyone realize that where they're starting from is perfect for who they are, and that so much of the best parts of who we are come from opposition and struggle and change. And I just think celebrating the awesomeness in people. So when I speak on stage, I always try to embarrass myself and make people realize how real I am, and that I still struggle with the same things, because then I think that people realize oh, if she still struggles with this and she seems real, that maybe I could do it too. So that's kind of always my thing, is I try to be very, very real.
That vulnerability, I think, is it's genuine. It shows a genuine side of yourself, where we all kind of put up these fronts, I think, to some degree, and maybe you don't, and that's awesome. But I know I do.
We put on right here, right? Me doing the podcast.
We put up these barriers, consciously or subconsciously, and having that vulnerability, I think, is great.
Yes, of course, this is going to tie into what we're talking about, but journaling is one of the best ways. And I've personally come into this as someone that has not podcast very much, has not journaled very much. And to go from doing that and finding how I can find my authentic voice is through journaling. Sorry,
being your true self on paper, where you don't, you're not worried about judgment. And yeah, I like that.
So we'll get into some of that. Let's talk about, or have her tell us about, some of the methods of journaling.
Great. You can also create your journaling through a method that is more natural to you. I like to write. It still takes work. It's not just because I like to write, creating that space and time in my day to journal does not come easily, However, maybe finding a way that journaling works for you. It doesn't have to be in the way that everybody else does. So finding a way to, maybe in your journal, you just post a photo a day or something funny that happened to you. That was something I sometimes will journal, what's the funniest thing that happened to me today? And I journal that, and man, I have stumbled back across some really good stuff.
That's great.
So yeah, I think also it's what works well for you. Another method that's worked really well for me in journaling is what I call active journaling. And so, if I write a thoughtful text message to a friend about, hey, here's what's going on in my life, or because I travel a lot, so I'm gone and I communicate through text with friends a lot. Or if I write an email to someone or I create some content for that day, I'll actually just take that and copy it and put it straight into my journal. So I think there are these opportunities that you can use. But at the end of the day, I think what really matters is you got to get clear on why is it important to journal. Because the reality is it may not be important to you. And it may. You just got to really get clear on, what's a habit that you didn't do that you now do, that you wanted to do for a long time, and you eventually got good at it. What's a habit for you?
I cut that off because I went off on another.
You went off in your habit?
Yeah, very private.
No, that's fine.
Just kidding. It wasn't.
No, but that makes sense to me. What is that passion?
Yes.
Right.
Yes. And that was easy to journal about or write about. And I love her point about, and we've talked about this in the past podcasts, about everyone has a different reason and how they define what journaling is. If you're having more expressive writing, if you're recording what you did for the day, if you're using, as she said, the active journaling, where she just takes something that she's already shared with somebody else, like through a text or an email, and shared that in her journal.
I've noticed I've been using the share extension a lot more from other sources. Like I'll see an article on Reddit or whatever, and I'll share that into my journal in day one because I'm like, I want to remember this later. And then I'll have a link to the original post, and I'll have a little little bit of content there. And the same thing, you can do that with the activity feed when you can add in external sources, like from Instagram or your locations or calendar events. That's meant for active journaling, which is why it only goes back 6 weeks and, is a rolling calendar, because it's meant for that active journaling, stay on top of it. And I think, that's been really helpful for me as well.
Yes. One thing, as she mentioned, she travels a lot. She's currently doing the 50-state U.S. state trip thing.
Jealous.
So it's kind of hard to track her down. I had to, and we actually wanted to have her on again, live discussion, but of course she's traveling, so she said, just use, the footage.
Well, when she gets to Utah, let her, say, come on in.
She's already passed.
Oh,
shoot.
shoot.
She went to Zion and a couple national parks.
Well, that's worth it.
So, shoot. Yeah. Good stuff. So, again, lots of great material from her, and I'll keep playing these and we can talk about some more. But again, now she's going to talk about why she journals.
Okay.
My favorite thing about journaling is that I always get to the end of the year and realize how much stuff I forgot I did. And I want to see how much I've grown. And I want to see the tough stuff I went through. And I want to see that, I made it through, because that stuff's going to come back around again. I'm going to have a client who acts like a total wackadoodle. And I'm going to remember, I know how to get through this. I've done this before, And so I think that's why I journal. It's why I still do it every day. And it makes me sit and think about, what am I doing? What am I experiencing? What am I learning? And then that really flows out into every other area of my life. And it's cool. I find the coolest stuff in my journal. I'll be like, hey, I remember that sushi place I went to that was really good. And I really had a great time. And I'll look up sushi in my journal. I'm like, oh my God.
Sushi and really. And
exactly. It works every time. It's been really funny what I've been able to find in my journal. I remember meeting one of my best friends, and I had it in my journal the first time I met them. It's oh, here's my problem.
That's so cool.
So cool stuff.
Memory, I think, is one of the number one reasons I do it, just so I don't forget things.
Sure.
And I can call them up later. But I also wanted to mention, we all have different reasons for journaling, but I think a lot of us fall into the same pitfalls of not journaling. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So, we all may have different ways to journal or different things that I want to write down and remember, but I think a lot of us can fall into very similar categories of why we don't. Mm-hmm. I don't know what to write. I don't have time.
Yeah.
But that's where you need to define what it means for you. Mm-hmm. For me, it means recording stuff that's going on in my family, what my kids are doing and stuff like that. I have a work journal where I'm recording my goals and stuff like that. So whatever that means for you, I think can help you overcome the common pitfalls that we all get ourselves into.
Mm-hmm. And I'm still envious of people that can do that, can pull up past, that's my goal. I keep thinking, remember why I journal, because I want to have that time in the future to search and pull back at great times. And one of my favorite things that she said in our discussion was a party she went to, a New Year's Eve party, that gave her the impetus to want to record like this and talk about what she just did, why she has so many entries and things that she can remember.
The story of how I actually started journaling might be really helpful. Is basically I went to this New Year's Eve party, and they're like, in one word, it was really, really hippie. So I live in Austin, so go figure. So in one word, they're like, describe your year in one word. And the first word that came to mind was unfulfilled. And that, like, if you know me, that's a really odd choice because I do a lot of crazy, crazy cool stuff. And I realized what had happened is that I didn't actually remember most of what I did that year, and that's why I felt unfulfilled. And so I realized in that moment, I said, I don't know what I did this last year, and this will never be another New Year's for me.
I love
even
that.
If it's not the things I wanted to do, even if there were some dark times, I want to remember my life. And what I've found through reflection and through journaling is that, holy smokes, do we do a lot of cool stuff and that we just don't give ourselves credit for. And I think that's the biggest reason I still journal, is because I don't want to forget my life.
Well, yeah, and she can tell her own story.
Right.
So it's not like other people are around her remembering for her. Mm-hmm. And, the fish always gets bigger the more you tell the story. Mm-hmm. But if I'm telling my own story and it's written down, like, that's me preserving my own story.
Sure.
For however else, because that's how I think. Mm-hmm. I think the reason I'm journaling, yes, is for me. There's active current benefits to me. I'm going to be able to remember things a few years down the road. But eventually, there's two certain things in the world, right? Death and taxes. I'm going to die.
Right.
Who's going to tell my story? How am I going to live on? You saw Hamilton, right?
Yes.
That
musical. Yes.
That story just hit me hard because it's all about who tells your story, right? Mm-hmm. And the whole no spoil. This is a spoiler alert. Sorry, everybody.
Don't do it.
Just a little one. But
it's
like it comes down to
That's the spoiler.
It comes down to we think the story is all about Alexander Hamilton, which it is largely, but it comes down to Eliza in the very end.
Right.
And when you finally realize that she's the reason that his story got told, that's a powerful thing, Who's going to tell my story? Totally. And if I get to have a say in it, hopefully I will want to write down my perspective, and then people can have that as well.
So I just text my wife to get on it, to start journaling my life. She's going to tell the story.
There you go.
Learn from the Hamiltons.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Eliza. Oh, man, that play was great.
It was so great. Well, in fact, this leads, when she came to the realization at that New Year's Eve party that, hey, I know I had a lot of cool stuff happen. I just didn't record them, so I can't recall them. That led her on a quest to figure out a methodology, and that was through tagging.
Okay.
So she's going to share a little bit about her method of tagging.
I use a feature in Day One called tagging, where I tag all my challenges. And so I think one of the best features of Day One is tagging. It's really underutilized. So you can track accomplishments or lessons or goals you hit or things like that. And it's a really easy way to have an actual measure on what you're doing.
That's what I need to do better at, tagging.
Mm-hmm. Let me play one more. She goes a little more detail about that.
A few things like I track. I really track accomplishments and goals. So you kind of specify something like the difference between the two. Goals is something that, like, I set a goal. Like, hey, I'm going to make this much money, or hey, I'm going to travel this many states, or whatever, right? An accomplishment is something that comes up along the way that just happened by byproduct of being awesome and working your butt off, or having great luck, or sowing enough good seeds. So I like to track accomplishments and goals. I also track lessons. So if I learn something really unique or interesting, sometimes through a bad experience, sometimes through a good experience, that I would like to remember at the end of the year, I'll track that through a tag. So I just jot the lesson down, and then I end it with a lesson tag. And then at the end of the year, I basically go back in my yearly review, and I actually look through all my lessons, and then I compile a list of all the lessons I learned from the year.
Wow.
And that's really cool. I think you just realize what you get through, and then you're like, man, I'm totally a badass. Like, we really are. Like, adulting is not easy, but it can be fun with the right mindset.
Well, and again, I went back to the vulnerability thing because don't hide those things. Sometimes we want to put the filter on, the Instagram filter where I look more handsome or something like that, noir or whatever.
Sure.
I say that in jest, but sometimes we have a tendency to put on that filter.
Yes.
In journaling, in personal journaling, I don't think you need to do that.
Right.
And the more you can try to let go of that is going to free yourself up, and you're going to find a lot more in there that's going to be helpful for you. And looking back on past experiences, that's how you learn from them, right?
Right. Totally. And I'm controlling the deck today with the clip. So
and he's rocking it.
Adam, no, I've already screwed up twice.
No, you haven't.
But Adam cannot see the next clip, and it's entitled "Be Real in Your Journal."
Yes.
So nice tie-in. Let's hear that.
If you can't be real with yourself and real in your journal, how are you going to be real and face your life and do the steps that you need to take to make that situation have a positive outcome? Because almost every situation can have a positive outcome if you're not lazy. Sometimes it's hard to find it. You got to look for it. I mean, there are plenty of things in my life that were not positive on the surface that now at 31, I finally have something. I'm like, okay, I got something good for this one. And so sometimes it takes time. But being negative and going with the flow and taking what life hands you, you can do that. It's just lazy. And especially if you're complaining about it. So I think that there can be some fears around writing down like tough things you're going through that you don't want to admit. But I think it's such a crucial step in actually getting to where you want to go. Because if you won't face what's going on in your life, how will you fix it?
Boom.
Yep. Golden.
So good. When she was talking about that, first off, she's so likable, and I thought her delivery is so great. And then just that reminding how important that is to be real. There's no way you're going to get to where you want to go if you're not honest about assessing where you are currently.
Agreed.
So great stuff. Play a couple more, and these are so great. I really like gold little clips here. This is one that I often struggled with, is thinking about, okay, we've got the major milestones in life. Those are kind of carved out for you. If it's a career change or if it's a relationship, marriage, children, any of those kind of milestones. But it's the little ones that we forget to record or to document. So I'm going to play the clip about that.
We think life is these big milestones. It's, having kids, buying a house, taking the trip, getting the girl, and all those things are great, right? I'm all for the big milestones. Mm-hmm. However, that's such a small percentage of life. If you really think about, the days of your life where it's like something massive happens that really changes your life, it's a very small percentage, maybe 10% if we're being really gracious. Now it's a great 10%, but it's still small. What I found through, comfort zone challenges and just getting out there in small ways every day is that when you learn to make every day or, even every week, do one thing that's really unique, really creative, different outside of your comfort zone, it completely transforms your life, because often we're waiting for the big milestones, which are 10%, but everyday life is really 90%. So you've got to really learn to thrive and survive and just turn your everyday life into something totally awesome. And sometimes that's something really simple.
It can be.
Not great. 90%.
Yeah.
90% of the small things in your life, 10% of the major milestones.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we don't and I liked what she said before. We don't give ourselves enough credit sometimes. Adulting is hard. Mm-hmm. It's not.
Yeah.
And I realized, I always looked up to a lot of people and thought, oh, this person has all the answers. Sure. And then I get to know them and they're like, oh, sure. They're as clueless as I am. Flawed. Or, they've had a few more experiences and they've learned some things along the way, but ultimately we're all just learning and getting through this. So.
I.e. parents.
Yeah.
It was easy as a teenager to go, they just don't get it.
Yeah.
And then, wow, they're more complex thing to do, be a parent. Excellent. Another thing I love she talks about is how journaling can affect time. Let me have her explain it.
Okay.
What I've found through building my life this way is that time expands, which is this amazing byproduct of doing crazy, amazing things, is that when people say, oh, time is flying by so fast, it's because you're just doing the same thing over and over again. Yes. And your brain actually doesn't have to register new things, and it basically chunks it all together. When you do different things, your brain has to remember new memories, and so the time seems to expand. And so I had a friend who once asked me, did the year go faster or slower when you did the year of your project? And I was like, oh my God, it's the longest year of my life. So it's a really good hack for expanding time, which is something obviously we're all trying to do.
Now, is that different than living in the moment, or?
Yeah, great question.
Maybe it does, because you're trying new things, living in the moment rather than just going through routine. She's saying routine makes it seem to go faster.
Right.
Whereas when you're noticing different things or you're doing different things, that's where time expands. I like that idea. That's a fantastic idea.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I feel like a vacation, it's gone very quickly.
Sure.
And I don't, maybe that's kind of the opposite effect of what I'm thinking, but I was just rambling.
No, it's good. It's good. So we're running out of time because this is amazing. I've got so much. And she talked a lot about habit forming, which we had a little more time to go into. We may do a part 2 down the road.
Sounds good.
But she really had some great tips on how to create a habit, creating space for it, making anchors to remind yourself, if journaling's hard, then tie it to something you love to do.
Yeah.
And so that'll help you with journaling. We've talked about being real. She has some tips on if you want to improve your writing, to do it through journaling. And I asked her if that's improved her ability to write, and it has through journaling.
I believe that.
Yeah, for sure.
If you want to get better at something, do it.
Yes.
Right? Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. I'll just play one of those tips that she shared with me about becoming a better writer.
At the end of the day, to get better at writing, you've got to write. It's just reality. The same way as if you want to be a runner, you got to run. And if you want to be a journaler, you got to journal.
Yes.
And so I think that just finding the time and the space, if you can habit stack your journaling with something else that you do. So I have a little bedtime routine, and it's I journal, I have a habit tracker, and then I check my schedule for the next day just to make sure I'm kind of know what's going on. And it's one task on my little to-do list app, and I do all those things at once. So it's just kind of my evening routine, and that's how I found that works out really well for me. And I also journal during the day too, but I've got that kind of checkpoint in my life to make that happen. And then sometimes if I fall asleep early because I'm an old lady and go to bed early or something, I'll see it because I don't cross it off on my task manager, and then I do it in the morning.
So there's her routine.
I like that.
Yeah. Lastly, I'll just finish with her kind of wrap up. She talks a little bit more about where people can find more information about her. And then one thing she does, if you sign up for her newsletter, she gives you some journal prompts. And
Sweet.
She started that back when she did the How I Journal. And I'm going to actually just let her talk a little bit about her journal prompts, then we'll let her do her sign off.
Okay,
thanks.
One of the things that I did early on when I wasn't sure what to write about, which is a common challenge in journaling, is I created a list of daily reflection questions. And so basically if I come to this page and it's blank and I'm I didn't do jack squat today, maybe I'll lay on the couch or whatever, I just don't remember because I'm amnesia half the time. I had a question, 10 or so questions that just always gave me at least one or two of them. I'd have something to write about. So one of them would be, what's your favorite thing that happened today? And it might have been I got a rock star practice spot at the gym. And then you remember how lucky you are, right? And so it compounds. And so they're all kind of skew you towards finding positive aspects in your day. And so if you want to check those out, you can actually grab those at, I think it's just heykendra.com/journal is what I believe it is. Yeah. I haven't looked those up in a while on the actual URL. So I believe that's correct.
heykendra.com/journal. Mm-hmm. And you know what I love about that? Use open-ended questions. Even if you want to come up with some sentences for yourself, use open-ended questions. That's something I've tried with my children as they're going to school. Instead of just saying, how was school today? All I get is a one-word answer. Right. It's fine. It's good. But if I'm asking open-ended questions, I get more of a dialogue of, a conversation with my kids.
Yes.
What was your favorite thing you learned today at school? Mm-hmm. What was something new you learned today? Mm-hmm. And it really gets the gears going, and then we start having a conversation, and then it can, branch into other things. Do that to yourself. So if you're having a writing prompt, which you can do in the reminders feature, you can put your own template in there. So as it pops up, you tap on it, your template pulls up in the entry, and you can fill those things out. And, use Kendra's if you want, absolutely.
Sure.
But you try to look for open-ended questions that are really going to get the juices flowing so you can start putting stuff on, putting your own content in there.
We've talked about this for a while, but we are doing journal prompts. And we're going to have a really killer template and ideas that you can create your own, to Adam's point. I love Kendra, too, where she says she's a power questions collector.
Yep.
So she loves to ask people questions to start conversation, and then she puts those on her list for questions, journal prompts. So I'll let her close out with her last discussion.
It's so funny. I randomly assign challenges to people because I love the challenge-based approach. I have no idea where that came from. And it works really well. It's really fun. It's just hey, I'm going to experiment with this. So yeah, if anyone has any questions or wants to reach out, you can find me. My website's heykendra.com. You can email me at Kendra, Kendra, at heykendra.com. I do reply to every email. It is actually me. People don't think that it's me. It's like,
cool.
All your emails? I'm like, yes.
Yes, that's great.
So if you have any questions, drop me a line, and go out there and, do something awesome. Start a small habit, or go visit somebody at the nursing home, or do something awesome for one of your friends. Be a great human.
Be a great human. Yeah. That's the perfect sign off for this episode.
T-shirt.
Be a great human.
That's it.
Yeah.
Transcends all.
I have a different version of that for my own podcast. I won't say it here, but but anyway, be a great human. I really like that. Yes. That's a fantastic advice. Thank you so much, Kendra, for your discussion. We are looking, if you want to be on an episode. Brett, you have a backlog, right? You have some discussions still pending. And
I do, yes.
But that doesn't mean we're not looking for more. If you want to have a conversation with Brett, you can go to calendly.com/what?
Day One App.
Day One App to schedule a conversation. And, let's find out how you want to do that. If you don't want to do that, that's fine. Right. But let me issue a call to action to our listeners right now. Go to, Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook, or whatever social media you use, and write a little blurb about how you use Day One, or a feature that stands out to you. We actually talked to Paul a little bit this morning, our CEO, and he's talked about how he's still wanting to improve upon the new Watch app, which has been fantastic, where we've added the new audio recording feature on there. You can record up to 90 minutes on your watch, and have that saved to an entry in Day One. So we're looking to improve that. If that's something that you use, write a little something about it on one of those social media platforms. Tag us in it at Day One App. I think you can do that on all three, major ones, on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. You can even put at Day One App on Facebook now. Tag us in it. If you don't mind, we'd like to repost those, retweet them, re-Instagram them, so that we can share with others how you use Day One, what benefits you get out of it. So this is a call to action to our listeners. Go ahead and do that and tag us in it. And if you do that, I'm just stating now that you're giving us permission to repost, if that's okay.
Yeah.
This is a binding this is a binding arbitration or something. I don't know. No. But we'd love to share your story. If that is that something you have time to do, let us know. Take a screen capture of your how you use it, and that'd be awesome. I'd love to see that.
Awesome.
Let's just inundate Instagram with a bunch of screen caps and how you use Day One. Or
and
Twitter.
There have been a few in the Facebook community that I've reached out to because we've seen that a great use case and got their permission to share it. So we'll be doing more of that.
Now, as of the release of this episode, we're wrapping up here. We have done our first book club.
It was awesome
event. So if you didn't get a chance to see that, you can go to the facebook.com/groups/Day One community.
Right. That's it. Yep.
To see the repost of that video. Because what we did was a Zoom call with the people that wanted to get on there.
Lou Rinaldi. Lou hosted and conducted it.
Yeah.
And if it's not there for any reason, it's because we totally botched it and we didn't want it to see the light of day.
Whatever. But we plan on doing more of these. We think this is a really fantastic idea, and just Day One users getting together, sharing their experiences. This one was about expressive writing.
Right.
Interesting book, fascinating stuff. Good to get the juices flowing.
Yes.
And I've said juices like 5 times.
It's okay.
I get on these hooks. Like every episode, there's a word that I say over and over again, and then finally I come to the self-realization that, wait a minute, I've used that before.
Are you wanting us to drinking a drinking game or something?
Apparently.
Whenever you say the
word. Oh, that would be fantastic. Every time I say a recurring word, be like, oh,
juice.
Adam said it again.
Drink the juice. He said juice.
You know what it is? I won't tell you. I'll tell you later. I've been watching the People versus O.J. Simpson. Yeah,
okay.
I decided to tell you. I've been watching the People versus O.J. Simpson on Netflix.
Series. Yes,
and David Schwimmer plays Robert Kardashian, and he always calls him Juice, Uncle Juice.
Oh yeah,
that's what it is. That's it.
It's on your mind.
It's in my brain.
That's right.
But anyway, for November, we're going to be doing a gratitude book. Do we have that book picked out yet?
Yes. We'll have a link to it.
Okay.
For sure.
Check it out below, or go to the facebook.com/groups/Day One community to sign up or join the group. Yep. We're going to be talking about gratitude, as it is coming up on Thanksgiving, U.S. holiday, where we pretend we're grateful and then we go out and spend a bunch of money on Black Friday, which is ridiculous, but that's a personal opinion.
That's right.
Don't let Adam's personal opinion affect you.
These are not
the official views of the rest of Day One.
Yeah.
This is just Adam's personal view. No, but I love the idea of a gratitude journal.
Yeah.
And so
we'll have a pinned post as well as an event created for it. So early December, we'll do it again, get together on Zoom and chat.
The idea is that we read the book together, and then we have a little video call at the end of it and discuss, things that stood out to us, what we learned, what was beneficial.
Right.
Can
I just say, because I've done multiple book clubs, not online like this, but I don't want anybody to feel like, if it's a book that does not interest them, obviously don't feel like you have to. But if you're interested in the conversation and just work gets in the way or family life and you don't get the chance to read it, still tune in to the Zoom discussion just to listen or watch it later when we post it.
Yeah, you don't have to participate in Zoom. You can tune in and watch it live or listen to it live without, mentioning anything. We're not going to force anybody.
Right. No, of course not. Yeah.
We just wanted to have a nice open discussion.
Yeah.
So
right. But don't feel like if you didn't read it or it's not an interest to you that you can't participate. We'd love you still be involved in discussion, sharing.
Exactly.
Expressive writing was one I learned a lot about, so it was one that I really couldn't contribute much to if I had just tuned in, but I would have liked to listen to the highlights.
Yeah.
And I did provide my highlights up on the
Yeah, you provided a PDF of your notes, so thank you for that.
Sure. It's sort of easy. Highlighted. Highlights, not notes.
Anyway, check out the links below in the description for any specific stuff that we talked about today. We're going to include those. This is a note to future Adam.
Yeah.
To make sure he puts those in the description.
Yes.
Dear future Adam.
Did you?
Put those in there.
Yes. Good.
Anyway, thanks so much for joining us this week. We'll talk to you in another 2.
Yes. Thanks for listening.
Bye, everybody.
Take care.